this poll here really gave me something to think about because, I mean, we've entered a new mask-off kind of political era, and it's quite a thing to behold. I didn't think we would be re-entering this kind of an era. So in Mediaite here, they say, shock poll, only 39% of Republicans say MLK Day should be a federal holiday. 9 points less than when the law was signed in 1983. Wow. So in some ways, we are regressing. People are regressing. I've always felt like this about MLK Day. It's one of the few holidays where I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. You know, here's a guy who embodied a lot of the same values and ideology and philosophy as Jesus. I mean, he was like a committed pacifist, but he was a crusader fighting for the right things, for equality, for justice. And for my whole life, I guess until recently, what you've had is Republicans try to do he agrees more with us than with people on the left. You've all seen this. There's a very common thing. You know, there's a lot of jokes about it. But if MLK was alive, he'd be a big Trump guy. He'd love Trump. He loves that guy. But now it looks like they've had enough of pretending, and so they're just going to go back to like, he was sort of uppity and maybe should have stayed in his place. Uh-oh. All right, here we go. In the year 2023, only 39% of Republican voters believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday should be a federal holiday. A full 9 points fewer than when the law establishing the holiday was signed in 1983. This Monday marks the date on which Americans commemorate the life of the civil rights legend with a federal holiday, but not all Americans welcome the celebration. Respondents to The Economist YouGov poll were asked, do you think that Martin Luther King's birthday should be a federal holiday? It's pretty straightforward. Overall, 55% of respondents said yes. I'm shocked it's that low. But by the way, putting aside like even whatever you think of Martin Luther King, it's like an extra day off for most people, right? Like a lot of people get off Martin Luther King Day. It's a day off. Like, what, do you not want a day off to chill? Like, what? That's crazy to me. I thought this number would be like 90%. 24% responded no, and 21% said not sure. Weird. Support for the holiday from racial subgroups was highest among black respondents, 77% of whom said yes. Even that's low. Only 77% of black people say it should be a holiday, versus 10% who said no and 14% who weren't sure. Among white respondents, support was lowest among white men with no college degree at 44%. Jesus. The highest support was registered among Democrats at 74%. 12% said no, 14% not sure. I'd love to talk to that person, the Democrat, who's like, you know what? I don't think MLK Day should be a holiday. What? But by far, the lowest support for the holiday came from Republicans, only 39% of whom said yes, MLK Day should be a federal holiday, with the remaining 61% either against, 37% were against, or not sure, 23%. Among independent voters, the plurality who said yes was 49%. That's still low, while 25% said no and 26% were not sure. Even more shocking, though, is the fact that while support for the holiday has grown among Democrats since the holiday was signed in 1983, support from Republicans and independents has decreased quite significantly. So it decreased among independents, too. According to a Harris poll taken weeks before the Senate passed the bill, 48% of Republicans and 62% of independents favored establishing the law. Wow. 42% of Republicans were opposed, while 10% were not sure. Support among Republicans has also dropped by 2 points since the same poll in 2021. Wow. In that same poll, 66% of Democrats favored the law, while 29% opposed, with 5% saying not sure. Okay, so this is crazy to me, man. I am absolutely floored by this. Because, yeah, it was always we can't beat them, so let's just join them philosophy. That's what the right was doing. It's like, well, we're never going to win this battle to act like, he wasn't a good guy, bro. So what they went with was, not only was he a good guy, he actually agrees with me on everything and stuff, you know? You have the FBI and, like, the CIA trying to hijack his legacy, and they're like, frankly, he loves the CIA. I don't know if you guys knew that. But we're in a new era. It is the mask-off era. And I don't know what to attribute this to. I mean, to one extent or another, I'm sure the rise of Trump and Trumpism sort of maybe led us down this path. But I don't think it's just that. It's got to be more than just that. But got to keep it real. this poll aside, though, there has been this sanitized version of Martin Luther King that has been put out there for public consumption. This idea of like, well, he fought for racial equality. He said, you know, everybody should be treated equally under the eyes of the law. We should stop having an openly racist system. But beyond that, man, I mean, he was just not even all that political and stuff, bro. Like, this is the version that people are kind of taught. But anybody who does a deep dive on Martin Luther King will find out very quickly he was a democratic socialist. Not only was he a democratic socialist, he was for raising the minimum wage at the time. He said inequality in the form of healthcare is the worst kind of inequality. So he's for universal healthcare. He said the biggest purveyor of violence on earth today is my own government. He was staunchly opposed to the Vietnam War and thought it was basically terrorism. This is a guy who was assassinated while fighting with union workers for higher wages. So here we have a guy who, down the line, it was like lefty, 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 lefty. And he was, really leaning into the economic fight now is the next fight. The fight to end imperialism and aggressive foreign policy, and the fight for democratic socialism, the fight for a more equal system with less income and wealth inequality and giving people a fair shot. This is what he was fighting for. And so nobody ever really grappled with that part of his legacy. It was just kind of hidden. It was just kind of like tucked off to the side. And everybody pretended like, oh yeah, he's all about equality, but then that's it, really? Like, no, it went beyond just, hey, let's treat people equally because of their skin color. It was like, we need a radically different system than we have right now. This current system is unsustainable and terrible. And so again, the right for the longest time pretended like, yo, he was like a Republican and stuff, and so he would have loved like Ted Cruz and whatnot. They were doing that. Now there's only 39% of Republicans even say, hey, that should be a holiday. Which means that's a huge number. That's like, I'm not too hot on that guy. Well, maybe they learned about the real him. Maybe they learned about the version of him that's crusading for economic justice. So anyway, there you have it. It's funny because in a weird way, one of his quotes here has been proven incorrect in recent times. The arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. Honestly, my new conclusion is there ain't even an arc of history, right? Like, this is just scattershot. You just throw a bunch of crap against the wall and whatever sticks, sticks, whatever doesn't. And like, because in some ways we've regressed, whether it be with, Roe versus Wade being overturned, polls like this where people are going in a more primitive direction. We talked about it the other day, but remember when asbestos was banned? Remember when leaded gasoline was banned? Remember when lead paint was banned? That, was hardly any reaction to that. I was just like, yeah, it is what it is. We're trying to make the system better, and this stuff is poisonous. Now we saw the thing about gas stoves, and the right's like, from my cold dead hands, will you take my gas stove? So there's like a regression even on that front too. It's like the social conservatism has been put on steroids, and that also partially explains why even fewer Republicans are pro MLK Day. So, wow. Knuckle up, y'all. There's a fight coming. It ain't just culture war garbage either. A lot of this stuff is real serious. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.